I'm so excited to get out here and talk to people about how I recovered. I was a mess, you know. I don't actually, on my website and stuff, I don't give a lot of information about how to cope with the symptoms of fibromyalgia because frankly, I didn't cope very well. I was a mess. I mean, I lost my friends. My family thought I was on too many prescription drugs. I was the crazy aunt. And I really didn't have, I had a lot of brain fog. I couldn't think through things. I was hypersensitive to everybody's saying anything to me. And I just, my life was a mess and I couldn't work. And we went into a lot of debt. We went from two incomes to one practically overnight because I'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia for about a year and I got hurt in an accident at work. And that led to me becoming disabled, and I actually went on Social Security disability for a while, which felt like I wasn't contributing, and I was just sucking up resources, and it was a pretty hopeless situation. And my husband had to work 2 jobs just to keep us afloat, and because we went into quite a bit of debt with all the conventional and alternative treatments I tried, and we didn't know I was going to be so sick for so long. We thought I'd heal, and months turned into years, and years turned into more years. It was a pretty desperate situation. And about 6 years in, I was feeling really desolate and depressed about everything. And one night I was home by myself. I was home a lot because my husband was working 2 jobs, and he also did like everything around the house too. It wasn't like he worked 2 jobs and I cooked, because I could barely do something in the microwave. I was so exhausted. And anyway, I started crying, and I started, I was crying is the nice term for it. I was like the ugly cry, that I was bawling, and I was crying so hard that the bed started to shake, and the bed shaking so hard caused me to get seasick. And so I wasn't done crying, so I went to the floor and I was just crying. And that's when my husband walked in. And I didn't think I could feel any worse, but when I saw him, the look on his face, seeing me down there on the floor crying, it was just more than I could take. And so, what I'd love to say is that night we had some sort of epiphany, and we were able to move on from there to bigger and better things, but we weren't. We were stuck. We were stuck in that situation, and we were living lives of quiet desperation, like so many people are. There are a lot of people just stuck in this situation. There's no hope, there's no help, there's nothing. And I know what it's like. And I'm on a mission to help people out because I was helped, and I am doing so awesome now that I am like on fire, excited to share about it. So I was able to recover in about 7 months' time, and I was off all the prescription medications. I was pain-free for the first time in nearly 20 years. That's about how long I was sick. And I was able to start living my life again. I was able to, when they interview somebody who just won the Super Bowl, like a football player, and they say, what are you gonna do? And he says, I'm going to Disney. I went to Disney. I was able to take a trip for the first time in years. And so I was able to do that. And then one of the things I did is I lost over 70 pounds, and which was like a different thing, but it was also very detoxifying to lose that weight. And then after 8 years of marriage, at the age of 41, I got pregnant, which was a complete surprise. After 40, we'd given up ever hope of ever anything. So 9 months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and here is a picture of him because he's so cute. But right here, I'll pass this around. There he is. That's his. He's now 6. You just press the top side, but there you go. Yeah, I can pass it around. So he is in 6. He's in 1st grade now. He's in 1st. I have friends who have fibromyalgia and they have children, and they can't be the kind of parents they want to be because they're exhausted and they can't play with them and stuff. I'm very fortunate. I can keep up with him. Even when he was 2, most of the time, I was able to keep up with him. Even a 21-year-old with perfect health has a hard time keeping up with a 2-year-old. So most of the time I could keep up with him. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is what I call 3D healing. So the healing I did was systemic, in that it was my whole body, but it was also holistic, because it also incorporated a psychological aspect. Okay, so we break it down into 3 Ds. So the 3 Ds, physical healing, and 3 Ds, psychological healing, to bring about a total healing. And this is based off my book, Freedom from Fibromyalgia, 7 Steps to Recovery. But it's easy to remember 3 words that start with the letter D than it is the 7 steps. And what's cool is, even though my focus is fibromyalgia, especially on the internet, this would help people with all kinds of things, because it's your whole body, and it's Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said all disease begins in the gut. So this is okay. So all disease begins in the gut. So this is definitely looking at the gut, but it's easy to do, because people with fibromyalgia in particular, they're in a brain fog, crushing fatigue, and a lot of pain. So things can't be real complicated, and things have to kind of progress easy step, easy step, easy step. A lot of healthcare practitioners I run into, I work with a lot of doctors, a lot of chiropractors and things, and they say, well, my patients with fibromyalgia, they have to do X, Y, Z before they can see any results. And the thing about it is that once I look at what they assign their patients, I most of the time I would say that I would have been a patient you would not have been able to have helped, because what you're asking would have been impossible for me. And that's kind of how my book's different, in that what I'm saying is it's possible, it's achievable goals, achievable from somebody with crushing fatigue and brain fog and an incredible amount of pain. So anyway, so I'm going to tell you guys all about what we're doing today, the 3 Ds, and psychological and physical, and then we're going to take some time for questions. And then I'm going to let you know about any kind of specials and stuff that we have for today. And if there's any questions along the way, feel free to ask questions during the presentation. I'm happy to answer them. And if I'm going to mention that later, I'll let you know. I'll mention that later in my talk. And if you have any more questions above and beyond that, I have a table here. It's like when you first walk in, it's the very first table on the right. And so I'll be available till 4 if you guys have any questions. And then further, all my stuff is the Fibro Lady on the internet. So we have a Facebook page, we have a YouTube channel, and I have a website. Everything's the Fibro Lady, so you can always contact me that way. And my email is leah@thefibrolady.com. And we have 2 support groups in the area, physical support groups. Usually I don't get to say this in my talk, because I'm usually not in this area when I give talks. We have a Cincinnati Fibro Fighters, and we have a Dayton Fibro Fighters, and they're on meetup.com. Is where you can find information about that. And let's see. So I'm going to tell you so we broke up the D words into physical and psychological. So the physical D words are digestion, diet, and detox. And we're going to go over detox and digestion and diet pretty much in depth. And then the 3 psychological words are decision, discipline, and determination to recover from an incurable disease. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is detoxification. So I'm not talking about the old-fashioned term for alcohol or drug rehabilitation. I don't know, some of you guys are maybe not old enough to know that one. But that's what we're talking about, is a cleansing of the body of chemicals, toxic chemicals, volatile organic compounds, heavy metals, and some things that you just, like plastics and things you just don't need. They are really interfering with your body's systems. And I think this seemed to be the big game changer for me, was this detox. And you're going to hear me say fast, simple, easy, and predictable. Fast, simple, easy, and predictable. So everything I'm talking about is fast, simple, easy, and predictable. And fast, so you see results quickly enough, so you stay encouraged, but not so fast that it makes you sicker. And you guys know there's a thing called the detox flu, and nobody wants to feel worse Simple, so you can do it with crushing brain fog, so you don't have to kind of get a complicated recipe together. Easy, so you don't have to run all around town looking for different ingredients and order things online here, and go there, and go that, all that, and have a bunch of things to, and predictable, so that I deal with practitioners, so the practitioner and the client know about how things are going to progress and about what time they're going to progress. So with the detox, I used a mineral called Zeolites, which is a naturally occurring rock. It's a mineral, and that's its like geologic name. It sounds like a brand name because it starts with a Z, but it's really called Zeolites. It's called Zeolites. And they have a naturally occurring negative charge. Well, these bad things in your body, like heavy metals and stuff, they have a naturally occurring positive charge. So the zeolites go through your body like a magnet, and the electron charge, they positive and negative attract. They trap these toxins in their molecular cages, and they're out of your body for 24 hours. The zeolites with their toxins in tow are out of your body for 24 hours through your urine and feces. And it's been scientifically proven to remove heavy metals. Okay, so that's one piece of it. The second piece, and I want to tell you a story about a lady who did zeolites. And she also did this therapeutic grade probiotic. But her name is Jody. She's a friend of mine, and she has an excellent diet. She had horrible, debilitating migraine. She didn't have she did not have a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. She does have the MTHFR gene mutation. She did find that out. But she doesn't have fibromyalgia. But she had horrible, debilitating migraines. And she changed her food up, like all natural, organic. And her migraines went away. But every once in a while, she'd eat something here or there in a restaurant, and boom, she'd be in bed for like a couple of days. And she's, I'd say probably in her 30s, and she's got young children, and she has a business, so she has a lot to live for, right? And like we all do. And so she was telling me she's a runner, and she's been on this program. She was on the program for 2 weeks. And she says, well, normally I run a half mile. She lives on a farm in northern Ohio, so she can tell by the fence posts how far she's run. So she says, yeah, I normally run a half a mile. And she says, well, after 2 weeks, I ran 2 miles straight without stopping, and I've never done that before. And I was pretty amazed. And then later she told me, she's like, I didn't want to tell you this till later because I wasn't sure if it was a fluke or not. She says, but at my first menstrual cycle was so much easier. And she says, my second one was after, like she'd been on it for a while, was even easier. And that was my experience as well, that my menstrual cycle really like eased out and were like foot cramps. It was pretty amazing. The therapeutic grade probiotic, this is the second D is digestion, and it jumpstarts the healing of the digestion. Healing your gut is actually a really long, slow process. Everybody with fibromyalgia, and I dare say everybody with a chronic illness, has a damaged digestive system. And that is, or an autoimmune illness, not chronic, an autoimmune illness. And that comes from Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. She is a world-renowned medical doctor. She's a neurologist, and she also has a master's degree in nutrition. It's really hard to find medical doctors that know anything about nutrition. And she healed her son from autism using mostly nutrition. And it is her opinion that everybody with autoimmune disorders, and she considers fibromyalgia an autoimmune disorder, that's a controversy. Anyway, to have a damaged digestive system. Anyway, so there's a way to jumpstart the healing of the digestive system, and that is to flood your body with good microbes. So little critters. And sometimes people are surprised. I think it's becoming more and more well known that there's little one-cell organisms and colonies of organisms all from our body. 9 out of 10 of our cells are actually not us, not us at all. And so when you have a craving for chocolate, it's not just you, it's the too, which is kind of weird when you think about it. So we want to restore the balance of the good guys. We would have more of the good guys. And when you have more of the good guys, they actually help you break down your food and assimilate your food. Because when we talk about diet in a few minutes, it's not just about what you eat, it's about what you're able to absorb from what you eat. And if there's anything wrong from your mouth on, think about the digestive system as a giant tube, from your mouth to your anus, if there's anything wrong anywhere along the way, your food's not going to be absorbed properly. And then it goes on not to make the proper things it needs to make. So you could be eating the most healthy organic food and taking the most expensive supplements, and if it's not being absorbed, if it's leaking out, if it's not being broken down properly, you're not going to get what you need out of your food and supplements. So the way to jumpstart that is with a therapeutic grade probiotic. And when I mean therapeutic grade, I mean something with more than 12 different strains of microorganisms, of the friendly guys. And it needs to be colonizing, so once they get into your body, they should be happy and strong and reproduce themselves. And the other thing is, when you're looking at a probiotic, is it should be free of things like soy and gluten and common allergens. Or if like one of the ones I like, it does have soy in it, but it's non-GMO soy and it's been fermented. So under those circumstances, it's okay. But usually soy isn't fermented or it's conventional, so it's not okay. So the big game changer for me was the therapeutic grade probiotic plus the detoxifier Zeolites together. That works synergistically. So instead of 1 + 1 = 2, it was 1 + 1 = 5. It got me out of bed. Within 3 weeks, I felt like I was cured. I wasn't. Like, let's be completely clear. I was not cured. I had a long way to go. But I felt a dramatic difference. And most of the people I see, they feel a big difference within about 2 weeks, 6 weeks, and if they're super, super sick and they can't, if their stomach's like super sensitive and all that stuff, sometimes it's 3 months. But they usually will start to see a difference anytime between 2 weeks and 3 months. But so when you think about somebody who's been sick for years and years and years, you just want a pill and feel good now, and and that's, but 3 months, I mean, you're going to be 3 months older anyway, so that's how I look at it. Anyway, so I did all the conventional medicine stuff. I did a lot of the alternative practitioner stuff, and nothing really seemed to work all that well. I mean, I would do chiropractic adjustments, and they felt good in the moment, but they never helped. And I would do massage, and it felt good and was relaxing at the moment, but I would be tensed up again by the end of the day. Or I would do acupuncture, and I'd feel kind of the energy move, but it didn't really do anything for me. In fact, I did this. They did this really powerful technique. I'm not 100% certain, but I think it was called the dragon. And they put the needles in me and all that stuff, and I was relaxed and everything. But they were kind of watching me, and they're like, "Oh, this is a very powerful technique. You might throw up. You might do this. I don't know, and you might have nightmares." I'm like, okay. So I did the technique, and this is a little bit TMI, a little bit too much information. But the only thing the dragon caused me to do was poop, which I realize now that was a detoxification reaction, and my body needed to do that. But I wasn't real impressed with the dragon. So okay, well, so now that I did I call it the healing cleanse, where you take these two elements, the detoxifier and the probiotic together. We call it the healing cleanse, and we have a free resource on my website about it. Anyway, all the instructions are free on my website on how to do it. And anyway, we put those two combined, and now when I go to the chiropractor, my adjustments help, and they're able to build one on top of the other. And now when I go get a massage, they're able to deeply get into things, and I was able to actually fix an injury that had bothered me for 20 years to my shoulder because of working on the computer. And now the acupuncture, well, it's profound, and the earth moves. It's like really a big deal now. And my opinion, and a lot of people's, is that the reason in it didn't work before, it works now, is because of the underlying toxins. The underlying toxins were like gunking up everything, and that they could really kind of get through with all that. So now things work really well. And what a lot of people found is when they do the healing cleanse, their pharmaceutical prescription medications work way better. And they work so well, and then they start healing and healing. They're not just suppressing symptoms, they're actually healing, getting to the root causes of the problems. Now they're able to start weeding off. And that's what I did. I was off all 9 prescriptions in 7 months. And I thought the pain medication would be the hardest to get off of, but it wasn't. It was the sleep medication. But I finally got off of it, and that's what took the longest time. And now I sleep, like a normal person. I get up and I exercise and I run around after my kid and keep my house, and I run business and I run races. So it's been pretty amazing. And okay, does anybody have any questions about the healing cleanse thing? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is diet. And fast, simple, easy, predictable, right? So I don't actually, when people are in a really fatigued state, I don't say go to the grocery store and buy all this new stuff and do all this stuff, because I'm trying to meet people where they're at and give them something achievable. And this is where me and a lot of practitioners part ways. Because all I say is get rid of the junk, be careful about what you drink, make sure everything you drink has minerals in it. And it doesn't have to be mineral water. There's a list of things to drink on my free resource on my website. And get rid of the junk. Let's see. If you want to try going off wheat, some people do okay with wheat, most people don't. Sugar seems to be like the worst thing ever for people with fibromyalgia, but so are any kind of chemicals. Get rid of Diet Coke, get rid of that. But don't change just try and go organic if you can. Try and eat from the natural section if you can. Just start with baby steps. Feel better first with the healing cleanse. Then when you have some more energy and you have some more wherewithal and more capacity, then start to give yourself really deeply nutritious food. And what I talk about nutritious food and what mainstream media talks about nutritious food, two different things. They're meat. Have you ever seen a commercial on television for food that's good for you? Yeah, okay. And who pays Good Morning America's, peppy little people to do stuff? I mean, they're advertisers, right? And they want to highlight what they're doing. One of my customers said to me, "Why do you say that eggs and dairy are okay when everyone else says they're not?" I'm like, well, I say they're okay because, first of all, they're deeply nutritious. Second of all, these are foods our ancestors ate for, thousands of generations. But, they healed with these foods. They maintained health with these foods. And I'm not the only one saying it. It's actually coming around. Oh, butter was on the cover of Time magazine a couple months ago. So a resource is the Weston A. Price Foundation. And I have this is my little prize for today, their 215 shopping guide, and it has where you can buy things in the grocery store. And they have their list of best and better and avoid. So it has a list of all kinds of things here, and this is going to be our prize today. Someone in this room is going. Sorry, I don't have the 2016 yet, but this is the last one I have, and it's really the resource that fits in your purse. What I found was when I switched I was already eating a full fat diet because I tried Atkins before and I felt pretty good with that, and I was able to kind of maintain my weight with that to some degree. And so I was kind of okay that way. But then when I read about the Weston A. Price Foundation, how they were talking about, well, it's important to eat these foods that have a lot of nutrition in them, but it's also important to source them from clean type environments. So you want the pasture raised eggs and the grass-fed beef and the grass-fed dairy products. And so that was all that, and that helped a lot. But I'll tell you, the big thing that made the biggest difference to me for energy was a sacred but forgotten food. And it's food that your great-grandmother probably ate once a week. Has anybody got any guesses as to what that would be? No, but close. Close. I do take fermented cod liver oil as one of the nutritional supplements. It's a food-based, almost everything I do is food-based. But any guesses? It's a food your grandmother or great-grandmother probably ate once a week. And it was old school bodybuilder supplement, like from the 1950s. Hi, come on in. And, well, I'll let you know. And then you guys are going to go, don't hate me after I say this, okay? Just give me a chance to explain. Liver.
I've never had it, it just looks bad.
I like it deep fried. Liver. Okay, let me just say something at the outset. I do not like the taste of liver. And liver is actually one of the most nutrient-dense foods available to human beings. There was this tribe in Africa that considered it so sacred, you weren't even allowed to touch it with human hands. They had special tools, for when they ate it and things. It is full of vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin iron, vitamin K2, which is like this special vitamin. And when it's raw, don't ask, I'll tell you, explain that in a minute. When it's raw, it's also has high vitamin C. Yeah, well, let me explain. So knowing all that, I still was hesitant to try liver. Then I read this study, and it was a study about 3 groups of rats. And the first group of rats was given rat chow, and then they were given multivitamin as a supplement. And the second group of rats, they were given rat chow, and they were given multivitamin, and they're also given a B vitamin supplement. You always hear about B12 for energy. And the third group of rats, they were given their rat chow, and they were given powdered liver as a supplement. So they did this, they fed these guys for about 3 weeks, and they gave a test. And the test was to see if they had any more energy. So they put them in a tank where they couldn't climb out and have water in it, and the rats literally had to sink or swim. So the rats would swim until they were exhausted, and then, okay, it doesn't say this in the study. I'm a big animal lover, and I think that they gently took them out and dried them off, gave them a treat, put it back in there. I'm choosing to believe that, and so I couldn't take it any other way. Anyway, so the first group of rats, they treaded water, they swam, until they stopped for 13.1 minutes. Now, I had to take a test one time when I was in the Army. I had to tread water for 5 minutes to pass the test. And that was a long time to tread water. I don't know, that seemed, so 13.1 minutes seemed like a long time. And then the second group of rats, they swam for the first group of rats, 13.3, the second group of rats were 13.4 minutes. So not a huge difference. And there were 12 rats in each group. Now the third group of rats, this is interesting. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you the exact numbers. The third group of rats, here we go. They swam for 60, okay, the worst 3 swam for 63, 83, and 87 minutes. So the worst one of the 12 swam for 50 minutes more than the other 2 groups. The other 9 rats, they swam until the scientists got tired. The scientists stopped the experiment after 2 hours, after 240 minutes, or not 120 minutes. So they stopped it. So the other 9 swam for 2 hours, and then the scientists let them out. Right? Mom, gave a treat for that cage. Yeah, I'm choosing. Anyway, so they said that there was something in the liver that was an anti-fatigue factor that they had yet to identify, and they still have yet to identify it. So then I was convinced to figure out some way to get liver into my diet, even though I cannot stand the taste of it. So what I did was I'm going to take about the 3 easy ways I came up with, and I'm going to start with the hardest easy way and work my way to the easiest easy way. So the hardest easy way was I put liver a 2-to-1 ratio with kind of a ground meat recipe, so like with chili or spaghetti sauce or something along those lines, sloppy joes, and I do a ratio of 2-to-1. So I have like 2 pounds ground beef and 1 pound ground livers, and I cook the livers separately, and then I whiz them around the food processor a few times so they're the consistency of the ground meat. Then I throw them in the pot. There's plenty of spices in the pot. Nobody tastes anything, and it's not enough for them to taste it. So that I make a pot of something or whatever, about once a week, once every 10 days, and we'll eat on that once or twice a week. And it makes a huge amount of food, so we freeze a lot of it, and then we'll have it later. I love to cook, but I don't love to cook every day, so we'll have it for days when the 2 days I can cook. The other way, my second ways, or the easiest ways, is I made, and this is where I get the best results with, is I made homemade liver pills. Basically, I took raw liver, raw beef liver or venison liver, and I chopped it up into little tiny pieces about the size of a baby aspirin. I froze it on a cookie sheet. Once it was frozen, I put it in a Ziploc bag, and then I would just swallow a few every morning, like with my supplements. And that way I didn't have to chew them, I didn't have to taste them, they just went right down the gullet, you know? And within 3 days, I noticed a difference in my energy. It was so much so that I had been struggling with writing my book and exercising and things because I have a small child. I was able to start getting up at 4 a.m. and ride for an hour, and then I also started training for the Air Force Half Marathon, which I completed about a year and a half ago. So that made a big, big, big difference in my life. Now, just my gut had already healed. I had recovered from fibromyalgia. I was already doing pretty good, so your mileage may vary, The easiest way, and the way a lot of people start out with, and this is what I do when I travel, is I have freeze-dried liver capsules, and this is the old school bodybuilder supplement. So you can get them at any health food store. And they have caps. They come in capsules or tablets. Most of the time you can find them in tablets. I have capsules at my booth that I really like because they're grass-fed, and they're not defatted. It's the only brand I've ever found that it didn't take the fat out of the liver. And they're minimally processed. I know the people who run the company, they just take the liver and they slice it, they freeze dry it, they put it through a blender and powder it, and then they put it in capsules. So it's very minimally processed, and it's from grass-fed beef that's not given hormones or pesticides, in the grass or anything. So I take those, and they're for a supplement, like a really high-quality supplement. They're dirt cheap. They're $18.95 or $19.99. They're $20 a bottle. For a month's supply, and a lot of people do that. And I have a lot of friends that either about to have a baby, they're pregnant, or they just had a baby. They like it, because it's iron and they're taking, and it's a food-based thing. And let me tell you a story about a woman with fibromyalgia who I was last summer. I was in DC, right remember when the Pope came. So it was a couple months before that. I was giving a talk, and this lady heard everything, and she went out that day and bought liver capsules at the health food store. And she also started out on the healing clinic. And she is a lawyer for a high-powered company you have heard of, but she wants to remain completely anonymous, which you can imagine somebody's ill. They don't want people in their working. They don't want people to know that they're sick. So. She was telling me, so she's a lawyer, and she wrote me a brief. It was a very long comment about how she was when she was sick, and then what happened along the way. Basically, she has a teenage daughter who's very athletic, and she has a hard time keeping up with her. If they go on a walk or something like that, she actually had to park at the top of the hill or at the bottom of the hill. I forget how it was. She had to park a certain way so that she wouldn't have to walk back to her car and all this. And then 6 weeks later, she's able to do all this stuff, but the really cool thing is she lives right outside Washington, D.C., and it's very hilly. And she was able to ride her bike 10 miles to see the Pope. And she was super excited about that. And actually, her daughter had to get off and walk her bike at one point on the way home. And she outlasted her daughter, her teenage daughter. And so she wore her daughter out. So she did between the heat, she had fibromyalgia, that was 6 weeks. She did healing cleanse and she did the liver, and she got serious results. So I called her Randy. That's not her real name, but Randy got to see Pope, and that was like a really big deal for her. So it was pretty exciting. Okay, so that's my 3 Ds of the physical part. We're going to go real quick into the 3 Ds of the psychological part. Okay. Decision, make a decision. It takes discipline to keep on track, and it takes determination to see it through. And I made what I call a no matter what decision, that I was going to get healthy and that I was going to get well. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. And frankly, when I started on this road of healing, no one said, hey, this is the cure to fibromyalgia. No one said that. It was all about detoxifying, getting healthier. It was, it wasn't laid out like I have it now here for people. And, but I just made a decision that I called in. I said, if there's a way around this, I'm going to find it. I'm going to die trying. I'm just going to. And there were days, though, that weren't so great. Really awful days. I don't have any awful days anymore. But there were really, some really bad days that I didn't off at the beginning of my talk. And that's how I think that when you make a decision, when you make a decision with your heart that you're going to do something, it's not just you. I believe the forces of the universe come through and help you. And doors open that were closed or didn't even exist before. Things happen when you make a decision. And what I want to talk to you guys about was how stuck I was. I was stuck in bed for 6 years. In my 30s. At the prime, it was supposed to be the prime of my life, I was stuck in bed. I didn't have friends except Oprah. My social life was going to the doctors. How pathetic is that? I didn't, people pitied me. It was pretty bad. And my mother was just like, you're so young to be so sick. I had what was considered very middle-aged and older disease symptoms in my 30s. It was crazy. I was like 33 when I started getting really, really sick. I would encourage you, if you are stuck, to make a decision. It doesn't have to be with this, but just make a decision. Make a decision, and no matter what decision, about what you're going to do with your life. And get unstuck. Get unstuck. Because when you make a decision, it's amazing